All right, and this is how we will proceed. We will have a lightning round, which will have one-word response, followed by 30-second response questions, then 60-second response questions, and then you will have the opportunity to ask your candidate, your opponent, a question. Understand? All right, so we'll open up with an introduction, beginning with you, 30 seconds.
All right, good evening. I'm Angela Byrd. I'm an attorney here in town. I have been in private practice and government practice since 1992, so we're going on 22 years. Married to Carl Byrd for almost 20 years and helped raise 4 kids. Our youngest is 16. He would think that he's grown, but got a little bit more to learn. I have done a little bit of everything during my time as an attorney. I've worked with the Arkansas Commission on Child Abuse, Rape, and Domestic Violence. I've done a lot of private practice. I ended with the title of Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Chief, Division Chief.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Judge David Clark. I'm currently your 4th Division Circuit Court Judge. I've been your judge for 7 years. Before that, I'm in the prosecutor's office here. I was born and raised in Conway. Had an opportunity to move back in Conway, worked for the prosecutor's office in 1996. Since moving back, I've been on the board of directors of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I've been the president of that organization for 2 years. I've been involved with the Boy Scout Council here. I'm currently on the board of directors of Boys and Girls Club. Again, just want to remind everybody, voting starts May 5th. Appreciate your vote. Appreciate your support.
All right. Mr. Clark, we have the first question going to you. Sure. This is the lightning round. It'll be one-word answer.
One-word answer?
Yes.
Can that be a compound word? It's going to be a hyphenated word.
One word.
One word, okay.
Have you filled out your tournament bracket?
Yes.
Have you filled out your tournament bracket?
No.
All right, now that we've broken ice. Okay. Should judges be elected or appointed?
Elected.
Elected.
All right, Mr. Clark. Have you represented more plaintiffs or defendants?
Plaintiffs.
Plaintiffs.
All right, that includes the lightning round. 2? All right. Now we'll go to our 30-second responses, okay? And Ms. Byrd, we'll begin with you. What has been the greatest accomplishment of your legal career?
Wow. Now, I'm going to have to say that has to do with representing people. I know that is can really cover a lot of different scenarios, but the bottom line is this: in every different situation that I have faced, representing people, whether that's a plaintiff who needed help with a land dispute, children who I'm able to represent because I'm certified to represent as an attorney ad litem. When you help people through those situations, both in civil practice and as in governmental work, that really gives you a sense of accomplishment.
The thing I take the most satisfaction in, one of the things that I preside over here in Faulkner County are all the cases involving DHS, where kids are taken into custody because they've been neglected or abused. Those are difficult cases. Those are cases that require judges to make difficult decisions about when it is right for the children to return home and when they should not return home. The thing that I take a great deal of pride in all the cases in which children have been returned back to their parents, none of those children have been severely injured and taken back into custody.
Mr. Clark, next question goes to you, 30 seconds. What is the most important tool a judge can use in resolving a case?
It's intellect and common sense. I think in resolving cases, it's a very simple equation. You decide the facts, and then you apply the law, and you get a decision. And personally, I know that sometimes that's a decision you don't like as a judge. But it's not making a decision you think is just. It's not making a decision that you feel needs to happen. You make a decision based upon the facts, and then you apply the law. And whatever that decision is, that's the decision you stick with.
I'm going to say temperament and experience. I think that a judge needs to have the temperament to listen, evaluate, be patient when you're listening to all those facts, because everybody has the right to have a fair determination in their case, a right to be heard. Then you apply the law, then you look at the Constitution, then you look at the factors that you need to look at in making that decision. All of that together is important. Experience counts because that means you've applied those situations, you've been there representing those people, you know how to help them through that situation.
Next question goes to you. How much freedom should a judicial candidate have to express his or her views?
Well, the canons tell us what we can and cannot do, and I'm a rule follower. So since I don't get to make those rules, what I do is follow what's already there. Granted, sometimes you'd like to say a little bit more, and you'd like to be included in the same catalog as some of the other folks that are running. But when you look at a judicial candidate, when you look at that judgeship, it is important for them to stay impartial, for them to be able to be fair in every situation. So of course, we're going to have some limits on our speech and ability to voice everything that you want to.
Mr. Clark?
Well, I think the way it is right now, the ability for a judge to express his views or opinion is very limited by the canons we have in place. I also think that if we apply some Supreme Court decisions that have been handed down as it relates to those canons we currently have in Arkansas, a lot of those are not going to pass constitutional muster. Again, I think just because someone is elected in office, they should not necessarily be stripped of their First Amendment rights to express what they truly believe.
Mr. Clark, next question goes to you, and it's a 60-second response.
Okay.
How would you describe your judicial philosophy?
Well, I think I did that with the question earlier. I think my judicial philosophy, again, I was a math major in college, and again, I think it's a math equation. I think the role of a judge is you decide the facts. Once you've heard all the evidence and you decide the facts, you then plug that into an equation. That equation is the law. That gives you the result, and that's your ruling. The thing that's important is there are some judges who take a different approach. They figure out, after they hear the evidence, what they want the result to be. And then they can go back and they can decide which facts they find to be most credible, what facts they want to give the most weight to. And then they get a decision that is what they want it to be. Now again, that at times requires them to make a decision based upon making a finding that no one else would make. But maybe one witness said something, so they latch on to that to make their decision.
I would describe my philosophy as one that is equally simplistic, but that it looks first to the level of experience. I think a judge has to have a level of background experience as a private attorney in governmental practice, have a wide range of experiences in dealing with people, because it's people that are going to be testifying in your courtroom. It's people who are going to be asking you to make a decision in their case. It's people who are going to be those witnesses. And everybody has the ability and should have the ability to have a fair determination of what's going on in their court. And the only way for you to have determination by a judge is for them to have been there, experienced it, be able to understand what you're being told, and make those determinations about who's telling you the truth. And it really is a matter of do right. If you've got a level of experience, you've got a level of integrity, you apply the law and the Constitution to those facts, you're going to get a verdict. You're going to get a decision that's the right decision. Thank you.
Next 60-second response goes to you first, Ms. Byrd. What federal court decision do you think has had the most impact on our society?
Wow. I would say I had taught classes for the Criminal Justice Institute, that's part of the U of A campus, and have taught a lot of law enforcement officers. And a lot of what I taught had to do with the Fourth Amendment. So I'm going to say that the majority of cases that I find to really have the biggest impact had to do with the Fourth Amendment, going back even to the 1970s, when they talked about the Fourth Amendment being a fluid concept because our forefathers either could or would not have been able to know we were going to have cell phones, we were going to have drones, we were going to have a lot of other things happen. So all the case law that's happened since then that's been brought down by the U.S. Supreme Court has helped look at those rules and tell us what we can and cannot do. And I think those have probably had the biggest impact. Now, I think in looking at those, you got to look first at what does the Constitution say, because it all has to be founded in that. Everything else springs from that. Everything else you look forward to and what have those case laws said for you to do. But it starts with what was the Constitution and what did our founders mean it to be.
Ms. Clark?
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Okay. What federal court case do you think has most impacted our society?
As far as most impacting our society, I don't even think it's close. I think it's Roe v. Wade. I think that is the most polarizing case out there. I think that it is a case that people are willing to throw away everything in regard to that. Again, we're talking about when does life begin? When is abortion appropriate? When can that come in? So as far as the biggest impact, I think it's simple, and I don't think I need to explain that because it is such a polarizing case that has had the most impact on our society.
Mr. Clark, you have the opportunity now to ask Ms. Byrd a question, 30-second response.
Sure. Ms. Byrd, in looking at your Facebook page, one of the things that you have on there is "we need change," which again I find to be a very buzzword phrase. So in looking at what goes on in 4th Division specifically, what is it about the rate of reversals on appeals, the timeliness to get into cases, or the timeliness of reviews, or what are the factors that you feel need to be changed, and how would you make that happen?
Well, I think first of all, what needs to be changed is that we have appointment judges. I think we just answered what was most important, being elected or being appointed. We both said elected. I think that is what needs to happen. Second to that, in looking at the types of cases that even 4th Division under that plan covers, it has to do with civil cases, domestic cases. When you look at those type of decisions and when they even get appealed, what's the standard? The standard is a clear and convincing evidence that there's been an error. Well, I'm out of time, so I didn't finish that one.
Ms. Byrd, you have an opportunity to ask Mr. Clark a question.
Prior to being appointed to your position, did you have any level of private practice that has helped you in your decision making?
Yeah, prior to being appointed, my level of experience in private practice was mostly clerking for various law firms through law school. Had the ability to draft various pleadings, draft responses, do discovery, meet with clients, prepare for case. But outside that, no, the majority of my practice has been in as a prosecuting attorney, but I have had the experience of being a judge for the past 7 years.
Okay. And now we proceed, Ms. Byrd, starting again with asking your opponent a question since he asked you first the last time, so you get to go first this time. And a 30-second response again.
How would you describe your judicial temperament in looking at some of the background situations you've been involved in the past several years?
I don't know if I understand your question. As far as what I've been involved in the past several years, I've had the ability to sit there and to listen to cases being tried. I try to, there is a point in time, as you said on the bench, that when evidence starts to be cumulative, when attorneys try to start telling you the same thing again and again through different witnesses, Rule 603 of the Rules of Civil Procedure, the Rules of Evidence, allow you to cut the evidence short if you find it not to be helpful. So if there is a point in time that I think the case has been fully litigated, I will stop at that point in time.
All right, Mr. Clark, I'll continue to ask Ms. Byrd a question.
Sure. Ms. Byrd, one of the things that you bring up, apparently, that you want to harp on is experience. Exactly what is your experience that you have that you think trumps being the judge for 7 years and sitting on the bench and making those difficult decisions, and sometimes making those decisions that you have a conflict with personally?
Well, first off, I don't think a judgeship is a place for on-the-job training. Let me make that real clear. I think if you're going to be judged, if you aspire to something, you need to spend time preparing for it. And I've done that. I'm the only one in this race who has had a private practice, who's hung a shingle, who's had a business, who's helped individuals, countless individuals over almost 22 years in going through this system and understanding all of the different situations that can happen to them. That's invaluable to a judge's position. Invaluable. Because that gives you the ability to listen to all of the evidence and all the testimony and make the right decision.
Thank you. Mr. Clark, first question goes to you. It's a 60-second response.
Okay.
What do you want to accomplish as judge?
I want to accomplish getting it right. I want at the end of the day, when you look at back my judicial career, everybody to understand that I take the time, I listen to the evidence, I figure out the law, I apply the law, and I get the right results. And again, I think when you look at cases that go on, that means you, the judge, have to make decisions that you have a great deal of difficulty making from a personal standpoint. Because what you feel needs to happen personally based upon the evidence there, you want a different result. But the law requires you to maybe return a kid to a parent rather than grant a guardianship because the parent is not unfit. Might be better to be with the guardian, but that doesn't rise to the level of unfitness. So again, at the end of the day, I want everybody to know that I apply the law and I do it properly.
Can you repeat the question?
What do you want to accomplish as judge?
What I want to accomplish as judge is have a division where people, when they come in, know when they've left, even if they didn't get the result they wanted, they feel like they were given an opportunity to be heard, that they had a fair shake when they came in. That's, to me, the most important thing. When we finish at the end of the day, I want to know that I've done what all that I could do as a judge in applying all my past experience, my temperament, and everything else that qualifies me. I've listened to everything and came to a decision that's based on the proper rules, it's based on the Constitution, that's based on the experience that I know I have.
Okay. All right, next question goes to you. Can you give us your understanding of the separation of powers? 60-second response.
Well, my understanding, first of all, we've got several different separated powers, legislative, judicial, executive, and all of those need to be in balance. I don't think that the legislature needs to be working on and telling the judges in relation to certain things what they should be doing. We have a balance of powers in place so that nobody's going to overturn somebody else. So we're not going to have a situation where one of those divisions is trying to take over everybody else. Our founders put that all in place to keep that checks and balances. So, separation of power. Now, we also have separation of power when you're talking about, other types of situations, such as whether we're going to have religion involved with the state and some of that. But primarily what I'm talking about here has to do with our three branches.
Scott.
Again, repeat the question.
Give us your understanding of the separation of powers.
Sure, separation of powers, we start talking, as Ms. Byrd said, about the difference and making sure that each branch is independent. It's important that you have three branches that can operate without any fear that the power is going to be usurped by a different branch. So, of course, you have the legislative branch that's responsible for making the laws. The judicial branch, again, is to apply the law, decide the facts, and apply the law. Not to try to regulate from the bench. I think it's very important that judges understand that. It's not their job to make the laws, it's merely their job to apply the law as they're written. And then you have the executive branch, which is responsible for enforcing the laws. And again, same thing, our founding fathers, we had just come, basically, we had overthrown a government that had tyranny against us, and they didn't want to have the possibility of our government being a tyranny against the people here today. So they created this separation of powers in order that couldn't occur.
Thank you very much. Ms. Byrd, first question goes to you, 30-second response. What is the purpose of government?
The purpose of government? Well, that's a broad question. Because the government has so many different levels of what you're dealing with. So I think it needs to be specific in terms of which part of the government are you talking about. I'm going to qualify mine in talking specifically about what is a judge supposed to do. I'm going to say we're part of the government. And as judges, we're supposed to uphold the laws. We're supposed to uphold the Constitution. We're supposed to uphold the state constitution. And we're supposed to uphold the laws that have been enacted. It's that simple.
I think the role of government changes depending on where you are. I think if you look at our federal government, the role of our federal government is to keep our borders safe and stay out of our way. I think the closer you get to our home, the more involvement our government should have. I think that our school board should have a great deal of say in what goes on as far as our curriculum in the schools. I don't think that's something that should rise up to the federal level. So again, I think that the role of government varies as you go up, and the further up you go, the less involvement the government should have in your day-to-day life.
Ms. Clark?
Yes.
Have you ever had your integrity questioned, and if so, how did you handle it?
I think I've had my integrity questioned on numerous occasions. I think that during the course of this race, my integrity has been called into question because apparently we're trying to say that integrity is an issue that I don't have it. I just sit back and I continue to be myself. I am more than glad and able to stand upon my record of how I treat litigants when they come into the courtroom to make sure that everybody is treated with respect and the courtesy that they deserve.
Repeat the question again.
Have you ever had your integrity questioned, and if so, how did you handle it?
And again, I would say yes. I think everybody in this room at some point or another has been faced with a difficult situation to me. Integrity is, what do you do when nobody's looking? What do you do in those tough situations? It hasn't been too long ago that my husband, while he was sheriff, had to stand up against public corruption about people who were misusing public funds. And as a result of that, we had decisions to make. And I said, you stand and you do the right thing. And as a result of that, I became no longer employed by the prosecuting attorney's office. And that's okay with me. And that's a badge of honor. Because what that meant was we stood up for what was right.
Thank you. All right, lightning round. Ms. Byrd, have you regularly voted in primary and general elections?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Clark, do you believe that the current system for disciplining judges is adequate?
Probably not.
No.
All right. Give your closing statements. Mr. Clark, you get to go first. Ms. Byrd, you have 30 seconds.
Okay. Again, I'm David Clark. I'm your 4th Division Circuit Court Judge. I've been here for 7 years. I've made those difficult decisions. You know, I have the experience of being the judge to make those decisions. I understand what it's like when you have facts presented to you that the law says a result is one thing and it shocks your conscience. I've made those decisions. I've made those hard decisions. I will continue to make those hard decisions. Again, I just encourage everyone to come out early. Vote starting May 5th, and I appreciate your vote and I appreciate your support.
Sir?
Thank you. Let's start now. Okay. I want to say thank you for letting us be here tonight. We've enjoyed this experience, even though it can be harrowing. I'll tell you that in this race, I'm the one with the experience before hitting the judge's seat. And again, I don't think that a judgeship is a place for on-the-job training. You need to have past experience in dealing with people and situations so you can apply the law and make good decisions. Thank you.
If we can give Ms. Byrd and Mr. Clark a hand.